Moving to Florida is a dream for many people, and in 2024, it's still one of the hottest places to move. But at the same time, others are packing up, leaving, and not looking back. So what's really going on? Why are so many people still moving to Florida while so many others are leaving? Is living in Florida still the dream life, or is it maybe not all it's cracked up to be? 4 years ago, you asked anybody where they wanted to live, and chances are they'd say Florida. Now it may be kind of a different story, and so I went onto my Instagram and I took a couple polls. I asked the people who either moved here or are considering moving here what their reasons were. And then on the flip side, I asked the people who live here who had considered leaving or already left, what are the reasons for them leaving? And so what I did was I took the 5 most common answers from each side. So we have the top 5 reasons that people are still moving to Florida and the top 5 reasons that people are leaving. And let us know down in the comments where you're watching from. And if you recently moved to Florida, let us know why. And if you recently left Florida, let us know too. All right, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. Here are the top 5 reasons that people are still moving to Florida. Number 1 is gonna be work from home and also job transfers. As you may know or may not know, a lot of companies have relocated their businesses down here, especially after 2020 or 2021. So a lot of people have transferred jobs down here due to things that were going on back then for a better quality of life, which we'll talk about that later. But that's a big reason a lot of people moved here. And then you have the work from home scenario. That's still going on in a lot of places. And I've even had some clients myself who they didn't have to actually take their role down to Florida. They were able to keep their place up in New York or New Jersey, wherever they were coming from, spend 3 months down here, work from here, and then go back up, basically acting like a snowbird. And then they were able to take that property that they bought and rent it out or just do whatever they want with it. Number 2, and it's gonna be the weather. And I'll be honest, most people move down here for the weather. And this wasn't the deciding factor for why I moved down here. However, when I polled some people on Instagram, that was a lot of their top reasons for moving down here. And I get it. You lived in a cold climate your entire life. You deal with cold for 6 to 9 months out of the year, snow for maybe 3 months out of the year, and then you come down here and it's just like paradise. But hang on just a second, because we are gonna be talking about weather again later in this video. Number 3 reason people are still moving to Florida is the better quality of life. And this one was massive for me. And this is something that I honestly didn't realize until after I came down here. And I'll attribute it to sunshine. Sunshine is huge, and I don't think you realize it until a majority of the year, the days are sunny. The sun just puts you in a good mood. The sun and the weather also allows for you to be outside more often, which allows you to be active more often. And then let's talk about water. There is definitely a study online somewhere that said just looking at water improves your mood. I don't remember where I saw that. If I could find it, I'll put it up on the screen. It's always green down here. Seasonal depression doesn't exist. Now, I'm not gonna lie, after being down here for almost 6 years and not seeing the seasons change for almost 6 years, I do kind of miss it, but I'll still take this over transitioning into fall or winter any day. All right, number 4, and this may be the biggest reason why people are still moving to Florida, and it's gonna be the cost of living. And a majority of these people are coming from California, New York, New Jersey, Seattle, places that have very high costs of living, very high tax burden states. A lot of people will look at Florida and say that the cost of living down here is high, which we're gonna get into that a little bit later in this video. But it's really all about perspective, and where a majority of our clients move from, they're coming from those places where they may take a little bit of a hit on the salary at their job, but the cost of living makes all the difference in the world for them. Next reason people are still moving down to Florida is they're buying second homes. And to be honest, this is probably the least of what we see, at least our clients. People are buying Airbnbs, people are buying condo investments, people are buying just second homes to have vacation homes that either sit unoccupied for a majority of the year or they rent them out when they're not using them. but this is still a big reason as to why a lot of people are moving down here. You gotta remember, Florida is a destination, it's a vacation spot, so there's a huge market down here for investment properties. Now, before we get into the reasons as to why people are leaving Florida, if you're enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything when it comes to moving to or living in South Florida. And if you need anything from us, our information's in the description. We'd love to hear from you. All right, so why are people uprooting their lives and completely leaving the state of Florida? I'm talking about natives that have been here their whole life, selling homes that they've owned their entire life, which, by the way, if that's something you're thinking about, stick around till the end of the video. I got something for you. Let's get into the top 5 reasons as to why people are leaving. And in no particular order, number 1 is gonna be people are looking for more nature and open space. Florida, South Florida especially, it's very established. There's really no open space here aside from the Everglades. But when you compare it to states like Colorado, the nature just doesn't compare. And you have a lot of these other states that have become very popular over time, like Colorado, where you can get a new construction home and there is just plenty of open space. The nature is plentiful. There's mountains out there. Florida is flat. Our biggest mountain is a trash dump or whatever you want to call it. Not to mention it's just becoming a concrete jungle, especially where we live in the Fort Lauderdale, Miami, West Palm Beach area. They're just constantly building and building. And when I say building, I don't mean they're going into open spaces and building new home communities, but they're building up. So that concrete jungle feel like you would see in New York City, no, it's not quite there, but that's the kind of atmosphere that a lot of people are getting out here, and people just want that open space, that peaceful life with nature. And I think people are tired of seeing lizards too. I think people want to see deer and rabbits and stuff like that. Reason number 2, overpopulation. The population keeps growing here. And just in 2023 alone, the population in the entire state of Florida grew by about 365,000 people. So we added 1,000 people a day to the state of Florida just in 2023. 2022 was just about when it was at its peak. We had about 750,000 people move into the state, but at the same time, almost 500,000 left that year. Plain and simple, more people usually equals more stress, more congestion, and more traffic. But I mean, let's be honest, traffic is just expected in any major metro area. But if you speak to some of the natives who have been here for 30, 40, 50 years, they just keep saying how much worse it's getting. Let's talk about cost of living again. This is a reason that people are moving out. And again, this is a majority of the natives, the people who grew up here, the people who at one time were able to buy a nice home for $200,000, and now that same home is $650,000, $700,000. The cost of living has gone up quite a bit over the last 4 or 5 years. It is above the national average. And although it is still lower than a lot of the other bigger cities across the country where a lot of you guys are moving from, the wages here, the salaries, they just don't support it in some cases. Housing prices more than doubled over the last 4 years, and let's not even get started with the insurance fiasco that was going on, whether it was just the cost of insurance going up or carriers leaving the state and flat out dropping their clients. I had a client move out, I wanna say about 1.5 years ago. He moved to Tennessee, and a major reason was because his insurance carrier dropped him because his roof was over 15 years old, and he just didn't see it worth it to replace the roof on this old house or pay for new insurance, which was just gonna be through the roof. So he flat out left and just went to Tennessee. And that's where a lot of people are going. A lot of people who are leaving Florida, they're going to places like Tennessee, Georgia, Texas, some of these areas, like I mentioned, where there is more space, where they are building newer home communities. You can get a newer home for the price of a 50-year-old home out here. But eventually those places are gonna probably catch up just like Florida did. Hurricanes are another reason why people are leaving. And so we've had 2 major hurricanes this year, Helene and Milton. Thankfully, down here in South Florida, we got spared, although we did catch some of the outer bands from it. But the rest of the state, Tampa, Clearwater, everything further north, even Georgia and the Carolinas, they weren't as lucky as us. And I think after those 2 back-to-back storms, people had just had enough. And it's not even so much that people are just afraid of the storm coming or the prep or the chaos that comes along with it, but it's the potential damage that you have to deal with, and then the potential insurance nightmare that you're gonna have to deal with. And if it's not a hurricane, it may just be a random storm that we get once a year in June, where we get 12 to 20 inches of rain that floods anyway. I think people have just had it. So this next one is specifically for the people who moved here post 2020 and then left and went back home. And I'm gonna call this, the grass isn't always greener. And a lot of people moved here because Florida was free, Florida was open, Florida was the place to be 2021, 2022. And so a lot of people just made impulsive decisions to move here. A lot of people also have only been on vacation here maybe one time in their life, maybe a couple times in their life. And then they assume that when they got down here that their life would be just like a vacation. But the reality is, and I've said this countless times in a lot of my videos, that it's real life down here. Life is not a vacation when you live down here. And I don't say that in a negative way, as in life is so bad down here, but it's life. I mean, you come here, you go to school, you go to work. It's not a vacation unless you decide to treat it that way, which I guess if you're retired, then your life can be like a vacation. But people were looking for a change and the grass just wasn't greener. They also didn't do their proper research. So with that being said, I hope you got value from this video. Whether you're thinking of moving here to buy a new home or even leaving here and selling your home and going elsewhere, my team and I would love the opportunity to connect with you. We'll hop on a Zoom call, assess your situation, and see what we can best do to help you make that smooth transition either in or out of Florida. And on the topic of leaving Florida, we did just put together a very comprehensive step-by-step guide to selling your home that I have available as a free download. And I think you'll like it. And honestly, whether you decide to sell your home with or without an agent, this guide is so in-depth that it'll allow you to do it either way. So the link for that is in the description. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Reach out to us if you need anything, and we'll catch you on the next one.